Okay, we got time for a real quick one here, but suffice to say, it's a good one nonetheless. So, I'm about to go play some Yu-Gi-Oh! With some friends, so I don't have a whole lot of time to do this. But, we're going to boil it down to a very simple statement. If you go into a forum and you see a bunch of people commenting the same thing in repeated threads, don't make another thread. Just talk about it in one of the threads that already exists. If you make a new thread, you're kind of an idiot. That's always been my stance, and it's the stance of a lot of forums in their rules. Unfortunately, the Delta Force Hawk Ops, well, specifically the alpha test thread, I don't know if it'll transition into being the main one, but it doesn't really matter. They don't have that policy, and there is no moderation whatsoever. But this guy here, Hermit, correctly points out that basically everybody's fucking child in this forum, and they can't comprehend, like that basic thing of if you see a thread of it already, maybe don't make another one. And he's basically saying that everyone's acting like children. He's not literally calling them children. That's obvious. Anybody with eyes and half a brain can figure out he's not literally saying everybody's a children. He's not saying that. But two people here, this guy and ShinRaPresident, basically were like, yeah, it's a discussion forum. People talk in those. But like I said, there's an unwritten rule, and in some cases a written one, about not making repeated threads. Clutters up the forums, make them really dumb. But, basically, ShinRaPresident here says the following. So this can mean one of two things. You're against microtransactions, but you think it's pointless for people to voice their opinions condemning it, or you support microtransaction in games and you think people shouldn't condemn it. Either way, your opinion is objectively wrong. ShinRaPresident, you are acting like your name, in that you think that you are just objectively right, and how dare anybody say anything to you? You are literally doing exactly the thing that he is commenting on, about acting like a toddler. Anyways, I'm 34. Big fucking whoop. There's a lot of 34-year-olds out there. What the fuck does that mean? It's not an argument. Anyways, so you can't accuse me of being a child. He isn't accusing you of being a child. He's saying you're acting like a child. You're literally proving his point. The fact that you don't understand the difference between literal and figurative is hilarious. I've seen games before microtransactions have existed. Yeah, a lot of people have. That's his point, is that this isn't new shit. Why are you saying this? Even cosmetic-only microtransactions hurt games by way of diverting AAA tier artistic efforts away from the base game. Cosmetic mean art has been lowered to base game, or has been lowered in the base game to justify spending money on them, thus hurting the overall quality of the game. An objective statement of fact in his opinion. However, he's literally wrong. I'm not going to read this, but I will leave it up here for anyone who wants to, see what I said in response. But to boil down my response very quick and simply, no, that's not how game development works. I mean, it is in some companies. I could believe it if you told me, Ubisoft, EA, and Activision did that. That I can believe, that they would divert funds directly away from the base game into making DLC before the game has come out. Big AAA companies, I can believe. But Delta Force Hawk Ops is not being developed by a big AAA company, guy. And if you think that the original Delta Forces were made by, this big, mega, super huge company, newsflash, they weren't. And that's literally obvious in the fact that nowadays Delta Force is pretty much unheard of. Nobody's heard of it for the most part, aside from literally the geriatrics like me. Doesn't really matter. The point is I make a statement that, much like with trading card games, this logic doesn't work. When the base trading card game gets made, that's the base game in terms of the video game. They make all the rules, they make the cards, they make the product, right? And then they spend money in development resources after release to make more product to continue making money. That's not diverting funds, they are making it in addition to. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, obviously, not every company does that, but he makes the case that that is exactly how it works 100% of the time. That they always make DLC while making the base game. It's not true. It's pretty much never been, across all games ever that that's the truth. It's just not true. Anyways, this guy, basically goes and agrees, cheating's out of hand. You shouldn't be losing to them. It's not like a normal game with the extraction mode. There's a GIGO mode in this, so you're losing real things that are tangible that you might end up having to pay real money for because of cheaters. And to be fair, he's right. But there is, 2 other modes where that doesn't happen. And they are cracking down on cheaters even in the alpha. But it's free to play. You can make another account and apply anyway. But it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. They are doing something about it. It's not like they're just ignoring the problem. But what he then goes on to say, Mr. ShinRaPresident here, is what really pissed me off and decided it was time for another... God damn it. I hate when I get those pop-ups in the middle of recording because it's loud and I know it's on camera. What the fuck was I saying? Jesus, that pop-up blew my fucking mind. Sorry. He basically decides to go full-on commit to being a child and does the following of blocked and reported, how dare you disagree with me? And it's because his statement was so dumb comparatively to everyone else that I specifically commented in response to him and not the other people. Anyway, what he basically goes on, and I'm leaving it on the screen so you can see it. He says, any attention put into a paid art... God, the way he types is so weird, too. It's like an actual child. Is attention taken away from base game art. Companies do not have infinite resources nor infinite artists. But what they do have, guys, is infinite time. The product does not get made, and that's the end of it. They release content afterwards, and that's what he literally fails to understand, and it's hilarious. Money that goes to DLC art is money that could have gone into base game art. You are correct, except for the part where you're ignoring time exists. It is a concept, and you don't just... The game doesn't just launch and that's it. Like, you can continue making content for the game afterwards. World of Warcraft didn't just stop getting new content 20 years ago. Like, things happened afterwards. I don't even know if World of Warcraft came out exactly 20 plus years ago, but I'm betting it is. I just don't have the effort or fucks with which to give to check. The point is it's a dumb argument. Paid art has to be better than the base game art or there's literally no reason to buy it. That's why DLC art is always more flashy, luxurious, and detailed than base game art. This is literally not true. I would go as far as to say objectively not the case, and that should be obvious, because if the base game art isn't good, nobody's going to buy the base game to buy the other art. His inability to think is hilarious. Just to me personally, I think it's just the funniest fucking shit. The fact that you could have paid for the fact that you could have paid quality of art in your base game, but don't objectively means that the quality of that game is worse than it could have been. 100% of the artist's effort could have been put into the base game, but was not. God, he types so... God, it hurts to read. No, once again, not true. You can pay an artist to make the base game, and then pay them again later to make DLC. Fighting games do it, they add characters. That doesn't mean the base game, that was resources taken away from it. No, not objectively all the time. Like, that's not how that works. Well, racing games? Oh no, we added more cars later? Holy shit, that means we took funding away from the base game to make this? A year later? Holy shit. Not how that works, once again. It's like, it's just not how that works. New content does not necessarily mean that it was money taken from the base game at all. That's dumb. It's like, I play TCGs, and your analogy makes 0 sense, so I'm not even going to touch that. My guy. It's obvious. Like, this shouldn't be that complicated for somebody to understand. They made the base game, and then they made expansion packs with more cards, and maybe even more mechanics. Like, this It shouldn't be hard. It's not complicated. It should be easy to understand. But to this guy, I guess not. Because he just cannot comprehend making content after the game has come out. Like, just... What? Like, my dude. Does just like DLC is a thing and existed before it was microtransaction horse armor, which is his big like get fucked statement is like horse armor ruined gaming. Oblivion horse armor DLC was the end of gaming as a good period of time, as if bad games didn't exist before Oblivion horse armor is basically what he's trying to pull here. And it's dumb. Anyway, the more important thing here is about the forums itself rather than how dumb his understanding of DLC practices are. Where he goes to say, second and less importantly, you effectively said it's good for people to make a thread after thread after thread saying the same thing over and over. Okay, so this is just straw manning. I'm going to stop reading and block you now. You don't get to police the forum. Reporting you, goodbye. Okay, that is exactly what he said, though. And I'll once again go back up to where he exactly said it. You're against microtransactions, but think it's possible for people, think it's pointless for people to voice their opinions condemning it, or you support microtransactions in games and you think people shouldn't condemn it. Either way, your opinion is objectively wrong. Basically, you are saying exactly what I told you. You are saying outright, objectively, in your opinion, that people should continue to make threads about a topic over and over, and people who think they shouldn't are wrong. Because apparently this guy's just never been on a forum where that's a rule. I expect that Steam is the only forums he's ever been on, because that's a practice pretty much everywhere that I've ever been. That stop spamming the main thread with more fucking threads about stupid-ass shit. If there is a thread already, do not make a new one on the same subject. That is a common rule, and for some reason, he's not familiar with it. And it's my problem that apparently how dare I straw man saying what is a common rule in forums everywhere. And I've been reported for it? Like, aight, slow speed. Settle down there. I don't want you fucking bursting a vein, slamming your fingers through your fucking keyboard. Like, Jesus, my guy. Holy fuck. Unfathomably stupid. Anyway, so let's just scroll back down. I'll leave this on screen for a couple of seconds while I finish this out here. Basically, to summarize, the OP is entirely correct. This is just a forum of unhinged toddlers with unrestricted access to saying whatever stupid shit they want. And it's insane. Like, in no way is it acceptable, in my opinion, for there to be this many people making repeat posts and acting like this guy, where it's like, how dare you have an opinion I don't agree with? How dare you tell me I'm wrong and I don't understand something? I'm blocking you and I'm going to report you falsely for saying anything to me. Like, mind you, everything I've said is on screen. There's nothing reportable. At least in the initial part. If he wanted to report the second part for calling him a slow speed, he probably could. But if I'm blocked, he can't see it. So, cool, bud. Way to go. I mean, I've been banned from Steam forums before because I've said way worse. I toned it down intentionally so I could just start being objective on the Steam forums and start being an asshole in my videos. But that's alright, guys. That's totally fine that he can be as dumb as he wants to be. You can be as retarded as fuck And if you can't see me responding to you, all the better for it. Cheers, bud. I will sleep fucking fine.